Hello. You know what we're doing already. We're talking about Champion today. This is the final book in the Legend trilogy by Marie Lu. We've already talked about books 1 and 2. I'll link them in the description box if you want to watch them. I don't have the book with me anymore because I had to return it to the library, but I'm kind of sad I got them from the library now because I feel like we've been on a journey. Dude, okay, so I read this like actually a little while ago now. When I finished this book, I don't know if you saw this or not, if you follow me on Instagram, but I literally had like a mental breakdown on my Instagram stories. The end, we won't talk about the ending yet, but what do you, like, literally, I filmed this video in the past. The look, okay, honestly, like, I'm not normally one to not post something because I think I look bad, because like really literally who cares? Who cares at the end of the day, you know what I mean? It's not that deep. But like the makeup look was so clapped. I can't post, like I actually can't. So we're not gonna do something super bold. I'm going to like a dinner party after this, so I need to like look half normal. If you haven't read the Legend trilogy at all and you don't want to be spoiled, obviously, like, I don't know why you're here. I don't know why I keep doing this. Let me redirect you back to Legend. Like, start with that one, babe. But if you've read Prodigy, the second book, but you haven't read Champion yet, you can stay for the first part. Okay, and then I'll tell you when to leave. So what can I tell you about Champion without spoiling it? So Champion is really the book where we kind of like get out and about. We see the characters kind of travel overseas. They go to Antarctica. This smells really disgusting. I don't know if any of you guys have ever used this Bondi Sands bronzing drops, but they literally smell so nasty. So yeah, they go to Antarctica. We see them kind of get out of the Republic, and with that, June is kind of like woken up to the state of the world outside of the lies and the propaganda that she's been fed her whole life, which means we really finally get to see some like real world building happening. We just finally get to see more of the world. There's like world building galore out here. You know, one could easily argue, bad structure there, Marie. Why'd you wait all the way until the 3rd book to finally do that? But you know what? I actually disagree with that. I honestly feel like through the lens, like within the context of the main character we're following, and because this is like a 1st-person book and we're following June and Day's perspectives and stuff, and neither of them have ever set foot out of the Republic, they've lived in it their whole lives. Why would we get a bunch of world building of the, like, with like broader context of the world that they're living in and like the political climate of the world they're living in? Why would that make sense? Unless the characters finally leave that bubble and experience it for themselves. I feel like it makes perfect sense that we're seeing that finally now when the characters are leaving this like echo chamber that they live in and like finally going out into the real world and like seeing how things really are. I'm using a dry beauty blender for the first time. I don't understand how people can use beauty blenders dry because I feel like this thing's just like sucking up all my makeup and making me look shit. Like what's going on? I'm trying it out today and I think this is the first and last time I'm gonna do it. Half my bottle of foundation's in there, love. This is really like that typical final book in a dystopian trilogy. You know, it's got real, like, I don't know if you've ever read the Uglies trilogy, the book specials, like it's really giving those kind of vibes. It's giving Mockingjay vibes. It's giving Allegiant. You know what I mean? It's very final book in a dystopian trilogy vibes. All hell breaks loose. The government is like in shambles. Everything's a shambles. People die. You know, it's exactly what you'd expect. And I'm not saying that in a shady way. I'm just saying it in a way of like, this was published in the 2010s. Like, what do you think? What do you think is gonna happen? You know what I mean? But I will say it wasn't done in like a lazy or like random disjointed way. Like it was actually executed really well. Like we have seen some heinous, actually, where is it? Let me put you on full blast. Actually, we have seen some heinous endings to a dystopian trilogy, like heinous. What else can I tell you that's non-spoiler? Oh yeah, if you remember where we left off in Prodigy, the health issues with Day, that becomes way more of a focal point in this book. The vibes that Champion gives you is like race against the clock, planning and executing overthrowing a corrupt government. And that's obviously not a spoiler to say, so if you're gonna actually cry in my comments being like, oh my god, spoiler, why are you here? Listen, you used your free will to click on this video, so you know what I mean? Let's not do this dance. Okay, so Day is a free citizen now for the first time in his life, okay? So he's like living it up. The Republic have put him in this nice, none of this is still spoiler, you can still stay if you haven't read it yet. I'll tell you when to go. Him and Eden are put up in this nice apartment in a gem sector. They're living the dream, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because like the entire time that we've been reading this series, Day has been like a wanted criminal, a wanted man, headhunted. It's kind of nice to see him like just able to live for a sec. With Eden, Eden's blind. Eden is left fully blind after that whole debacle in the last book, like with the plague and all that, like the way it affected him. He's like, I'm like really sad, but he's got such like good attitude about it. He's like so positive. Bless that kid, you know. Day is like undergoing his treatments for this thing that they found. It's all very hush hush. He like doesn't want to tell June. Him and June like aren't really on speaking terms, because ever since she took up that Princeps elect position, she's just been with Andon the whole time. So it's like, when have they had the time to like catch up? It's kind of hard to maintain the relationship when she's having to spend all her time with Andon. June's being a career woman, and I feel like, you know, part of me also thinks like, you know, maybe she's out of that phase of her life. She did the street criminal, like run away with the bad boy street criminal, like, you know, young, wild and free vibe. Now she's bagged herself a government official. You know what I mean? Like, day who? Like, day who? I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, she rings him out of the blue one day. Trouble is brewing. Trouble is brewing within the government though, I'll tell ya. This may be a little bit spoilery. Okay, this is probably the point where you would want to leave if you haven't read the book yet. This is kind of like what the point of Champion is going to be, okay? Basically, we find out that the colonies are waging war. Because they're like, yo, your little virus has been unleashed in our area, and like now all of our people are getting sick with your nasty Republic disease. Like, what the hell? If you don't come up with a cure and give it to us, it's done, babe. Like, all out war. You know what I mean? Like, you're done. Which, like, I don't know if this makes me a bad person to say, but like vibes. Like, I would low-key do the same. What do you mean you've been manufacturing plagues for years and then you unleash it in our territory? Like, absolutely, no offense, but like, absolutely not. That is a you problem, not a me problem. You know what I mean? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Even though it's like, okay, waging war against a whole country, like, that's not good vibes. No offense, but like, yeah. Yeah. See ya. Figure it out. Figure it out before we figure you out. Andon's kind of like, oh crap. Day's little brother had the plague, right? So he would have the antibodies. We can probably use that to help us find a cure. Like, we need to get back in contact with Day. The whole plan is they're going to invite him to this dinner. They're going to ask him at this dinner, can we use Eden for research? But here's the thing, like doing the research on Eden is like dangerous in itself. There's no guarantee that it's going to do anything. You know what I mean? So it's a bit of a risk. So, and also Day is very like, I'm not handing over my brother to the government again. Like, are you actually kidding me? You held him captive, ran tests on him, you ran tests on me when I was his age, like, you know, so they know it's a really delicate topic and they're kind of like, oh yikes. So they obviously get June to ring him up and be like, hey, come to this dinner, like we really want you there. I think someone else tries to invite him and he's like, Siebes, coming to a dinner, like, not my vibe. And then when June rings him, he's like, oh, okay, this must be kind of important or a big deal, because if June's gonna ring me herself to invite me. So he's like, all right, I'm doing it for you, not for them. He goes, they pop the question and he's like, he pretty much laughs in their face and is like, are you actually joking? Are you actually joking, bitch? Like, the answer's no. You know what I mean? The answer is a no. It's a no from me. But he's like, I will help you with the war efforts. I'll help you fight against this in any way I can, but you're not having Eden. Like, there's no way. I feel like that's reasonable. So Andon and Jude end up going off to Antarctica, because the colonies are pretty much like, oh, we're linking up with Africa and both of us can invade you. That's why it's such a threat, because it's not only the colonies that are invading, because the Republic could probably fight against them if it was just those two heading off, but like, Africa wants to Africa's gonna get in on it too. I don't know if like Africa had beef with the Republic as well, or if Africa just like, Africa's just bored, just wants to fight. Maybe Africa just loves a scrap. I think Africa honestly had no beef with the Republic. I think they just love a good scrap. I think that's the vibe. So they're like, okay, we need to go to we need to go to Antarctica and like beg them for aid. It's kind of embarrassing for the Republic, because they're showing up to the Antarctica asking for more aid and help despite being given so much in the past without kind of like returning the favor. It's like as if they're like some loser boyfriend that keeps begging for money, being like, I swear babe, I have a job interview next week, like this will be the last time. Antarctica are kind of like, ugh. Antarctica is really kind of over it at this point. They're kind of like, look, this has been going on for too long. At this point, like, you need to give us something in return. So Antarctica are kind of like, all right, if you can figure out, if you can develop a cure to get them off your back, we'll help you, but you need to give us proof of a cure, or you need to give us some of your land. Antarctica is really, I mean, would I do that? Would I personally go that route? No, like, I don't know if I would stoop to that level, but look, Antarctica, I mean, I mean, you know what I mean? Do you remember, who was it? Who were those two people from the last book? The Republic soldiers, low-key evil, who were they? Jameson and Thomas. They're like in prison on death row. They both escape. Everything's just kind of blowing up in the government's face at this point, which is kind of sad because it's like Andon's evil dad is the one that got them all into this mess, and like Andon low-key is like left to pick up the pieces. I hate all of these shades. What am I gonna do? They escape and it's kind of like, oh shit. Then the next day collapses a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna sound a bit mean, but like it's a little bit attention seeker. He has to get rushed to hospital. No offense, we get that you're dying, honey, but like, please. Basically, he's like fully dying. The tumor is growing, and like what we kind of realize about Day is they need to find a way to kind of shrink his tumor in time for his surgery date so that they can like safely perform the surgery. So it's kind of like a race against the clock for that to happen. It's like a race against the clock for them to find a cure so that the colonies don't invade, and like it's just a shambles, you know? Like, we're probably only about 50, 70 pages in at this point, and it's like already a full shambles. So I'm sitting there like, this is what I mean when I say dystopian novel. Like, when I say I'm gonna read a dystopian novel, that's what I want. I want 70 pages in, everything's a shit show. You know what I mean? Shit show. So I was loving it, personally. He decides to tell June about his illness because she finds out he was rushed to the hospital. She's like, what the heck? Anyways, couple days later, the city's like attacked. I can't exactly remember like where that all went, but I do remember a few days in, someone rings up Day. I think he's in the hospital, and they're like, hey, howdy, like, it's me, the leader of the opposing forces. I have a cute little deal. We're gonna do a 3-day ceasefire. If you want to work with us and like basically convince the public, because Day is such this like beacon of whatever, like the public love Day. They'll basically just rally behind Day, whatever he's doing. So they're like, okay, now I'm using this. I think it was like $3 a target. You know, so they're kind of like, yeah, we'll give you 3 days to decide, but if you can pretty much rally the people in support of this government being overthrown, they're pretty much like, look, for us to come in and successfully like take over, we're either gonna have to kill a bunch of people off to force people into conformity. The old government is obviously gonna have to get executed, Romanov style, because that's kind of the only way that this works. They literally say that. They're like, what do you think happens when a government gets overthrown? Do you think anyone makes it out alive? No. No, they don't. So they're kind of like, we're gonna give you a chance to save you and the people you care about. June, Eden, yada yada. We'll spare you guys in the destruction and the mayhem. If you can inspire the public to kind of just welcome us and help them see this as a positive type thing, you know? He's not like super thrilled about that from memory. I think he was kind of like, Anyways, meanwhile, the Patriots and the Republic link up again. They kind of end up linking up together. They kind of become allies. June, Day, and some of the Patriots go out to the colony's warships and they start bugging them and putting explosives in them and stuff. Should I put something underneath? I don't know. It could be cute, but it could also look really busted. Why did I brush that with my black? Like, what is wrong with me? Oh yeah, so they're putting bombs on these colonies' warships, right? They're in this like air base, secretly like jumping from ship to ship, like attaching bombs at the bottom, right? And then I think like Day, something happened. His like dodgy leg fails him and he like falls out of one of the ships and he like makes a bunch of racket, and the soldiers kind of turn and they're like, you know what I mean? He's kind of caught with his pants down, like, Their cover is fully blown. So anyway, they have to run to get out of this airbase. Dude, Thomas appears out of nowhere face to face with Day. Thomas, low-key, I think he did this as like a final act of like support for the Republic. Thomas, one thing about Thomas, he is a bootlicker up until the very end. He literally cannot get enough of the taste of rubber boot in his mouth, especially when it belongs to the Republic soldiers. He kind of like jumps out in front of them and like turns on the colonies. It came out that like him and Jameson, they escaped and they like joined alliances with the colonies. But anyway, so he turns against the colonies. He's like shooting at them to help them get away. And I don't know if he like, did he turn around and be like, long live the Republic or something? He said something. He came out with some cringe one-liner, I'm pretty sure, from memory. Like, long live the Republic, or like something really cringe like that. And it's like, okay, Thomas, like, just jump in front of the bullet and be done. Like, really, like, you're doing too much, you know what I mean? So anyway, with that wild card thrown in the mix, I don't know if he did it to like protect June or who even knows. So yeah. Some would say heartwarming, but honestly, embarrassing. Like, like, what are you doing? He was so allegiant to the Republic that he followed their commands so to a T that it ended up getting him put on death row by the New Republic. That he ended up on death row for being too allegiant to the Republic, when you think about it. And now, after joining with the other forces, he jumps out and like betrays the other forces to still one last act of service for the Republic. That embarrassing, like embarrassing. Oh my God, doing too much. Really doing too much, but that's fine. Bless him though, because they got away. Yeah, so he turns, he starts shooting the soldiers, and then Thomas obviously ends up dying. Like, he sacrificed himself for Day. Pretty much what they've decided to do with this whole like 3 days notice type thing. Day and the Patriots, they go about the city spray painting like this little symbol on everyone's doors. So that's like, wait for my sign is what it says, okay? And then it's like a picture of a smiley face with like a red blood streak in its hair, because you know, you know, sorry, you know, having Day's symbol for the public was like that red streak of blood in his hair, and the public started dyeing their hair red to like show their support for Day back in like book 2 or whatever. So he's like, no, we'll put this little smiley face on people's doors and they'll know it's a message from me. Like, will they? Imagine you see this, like, would you think, like, would you think that that's like a message from Day? Oh my God, hold on. Whose idea? Whose idea was that? Oh my God. I just can't. Oh my God. Like, literally. If Champion had a cringe bingo card, oh, we'd be at least close to a bingo by this point. Listen for my sign or some shit. Like, listen for my symbol or something. I don't know what he says. Okay, so after that all happens, Eden pretty much, because like Eden's growing up a little bit at this point. He's like, I'm old enough to make decisions about myself for myself. So he's like, why don't you let me do the tests? Like, I want to undergo the tests. If it's going to help us find a cure and put off this war, let me help. Which is kind of like sweet when you think about it. He's like, so that I didn't go through all that for nothing, you know what I mean? Help the Republic in some kind of way. Eden wants to help. Day eventually lets him do it. He's like, all right, fine, I guess so. Like, you're old enough to make your own decisions now. Like, if this is really what you want to do. So Eden starts doing the testing. June and Andon end up going to Antarctica. They're going to, should I do nude in here or should I do black? Should I do black? I feel like black's just not it. Can't decide. Nah, let's do nude. Okay, they go to Antarctica. Antarctica, oh my God, let me tell you about Antarctica. Antarctica is wild. Antarctica is like super advanced, super progressed as a society. You know what, I would honestly read an entire book just on Antarctica. It's such a fascinating world, that the way it works. Like, when you arrive, there's like a point system. Like, you have these points that appear above your head. Every good thing that you do, you gain points. So like, if you water a flower, you gain a point. If you pick up a piece of trash, you gain some points. Like, if you do good things, you gain points. If you do bad things, I think they get taken off you. It's like a video game. Like, you have like levels, the amount of points you have determine the levels. And then it's low-key like that episode of Black Mirror where depending on your level, it like determines what kind of things you can do and have in life. Like, what kind of jobs you can apply for, where you can live, that type of stuff. So like, I would read a book on that alone. They go there, they have like, it's all super advanced. They have these little portals which like, you go stand in the tube or the portal thing. It's basically like internet access. So like, all the screens around you, I don't know, it's like the internet, but you stand in it and it's like, I don't know. She goes in and she's like messing around with the portal in her room, in her like hotel room. Sees all these like old news articles and archives and stuff about the war. And this is how she finally learns what actually happened with like the war and like how the Republic came to be. Like, how like everything just went so downhill and like basically how the society ended up where it's at today. Really cool to see. And like this, and that's what I mean, like it kind of makes sense for it to come up at this point, because she realizes just how much of like in a bubble they all are down in the Republic, because like, she finds out that the Republic is like a pariah state. Like no one's on their side. They're just viewed as like fully politically outcasted. Yeah, that's what, basically when they had that whole conversation about like Antarctica aren't willing to help unless they get something in return. Okay, so anyways, the colonies have pretty much successfully taken over multiple states in the Republic, multiple cities. They're kind of running out of places to evacuate people. Oh my God, what have I just done? Anyway, oh, this whole argument happens. Hang on. What am I doing to my lip? Are you seeing that? I'm looking like Sylvester Stallone, like, eh? I've given myself like an Elvis smile with that lip line. You know what I mean? Let me try to fix that. Hang on, let me try to fix that real quick. Oh my God, what have I done? Hold up. We have an issue. Oh, that's not the right lip pencil. I was like, why is it looking so weird? I wasn't gonna do a lip gloss, but now I have to. Yeah, so Day meets up with the Chancellor of the colonies. He's like, okay, let's do this. Pretty much with him agreeing to go along with the plan, or like pretending to agree to go on with the plan, he thinks he's like big brained this whole situation. But then the Chancellor turns around with this Uno reverse and they're like, okay, if you're gonna do this, we want you to be on our airship though when you make the announcement of support for us in front of everyone. Basically like, so that if you try anything shifty, you're on our airship and we can pretty much just kill you on the spot. So he was kind of banking on not being there so that he could just be like, never mind. But it's like, no offense, but like, do you think they're that dumb? Anyways, he meets up with them and like, he does this speech, I'm pretty sure, from memory, he like does this speech. He pretty much calls to action the public. He's like, attack or something. I can't remember what he said. He didn't say attack, but he pretty much is like, okay, attack, like the time has come. Stand up for us or whatever, let's take them down. Then everything just absolutely turns to shit. Like all the public is starting to fight. Oh my God, wait. There was this whole drama that went down with Day and Andon. I forgot to tell you. Okay, when the colonies started invading, they were evacuating everyone out of the city, but they were like evacuating all of the rich areas first into like underground bunkers. And like when all of it started happening, June and Day were together with Andon. June's kind of like, oh yeah, they're evacuating everyone into the bunkers. And Day's kind of like, what bunkers? Like, what do you mean? And she has this moment of realization where she's like, oh crap, he grew up in the poor areas and like they probably didn't have any systems in place for the poor people. Real awkward moment where they're like, oh, pretty much what we do is like, we have this fail-safe plan for rich people where they can get evacuated out of the city and the poor people have always just been left to like, in the contingency plan, the poor people were just kind of left to figure it out. Like we didn't put anything in place for them. Good luck type of thing. It's and then he like, it was real awkward because he's like, no, 50-50, we're evacuating poor people into bunkers and rich people into bunkers. Like absolutely, like he's fully having a whole moment about it. And it's kind of like, I do see where he's coming from. Like it did make sense, but then they're talking about like, I think they came to this agreement where it was like, okay, to not disrupt the flow of it and the process and what the public are primed for, I think we're just gonna have to run it like this. The rich people get evacuated out of the city down underground into the bunkers. And then the poor people get evacuated from the slums into the rich people's apartments. But it was like, because obviously they attacked like the poor sectors first, but like awkward. Like, and also why would they not think about, I don't know, why would they not think about the poor? Ugh. When I read that, honestly, I was like, you know what, Andon? I don't know, I was kind of like, man, just screw this whole society. Like, what do we, I was like, you know what, at this point, like, let's just overthrow the Republic. Like, we don't need this. We don't need this. But anyway, there's this whole thing. So June is pretty much like, oh my God, June decides, I don't like being the princeps. Like, it's not for me. I don't like being in the office. She wants to be out in the field where the action is. She pretty much says to Andon, like, no offense, but like, thanks, but no thanks. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, well, where do you want to be stationed then? And she's like, I want to be out in the field. Like, that's where I belong. I'm a scrappy bitch. Like, put me where the action is. So he's like, okay, fine, done. So she goes back into the military. Oh my God. So they get the testing back from Eden. Turns out, real awkward, real embarrassing, bad look for the Republic. Not gonna lie. Because they get the results back and it's like, oh, so the virus that Eden has isn't the final form of the virus. The version that we're dealing with is a mutated version from what Eden had. So he's not actually patient 0 for this, so it's not gonna work. Oh my God. I know, not a good look. So anyway, they're like, okay, cool, like we're screwed. But then June has this whole like, OMG, I'm the main character moment where she's like, wait everyone. It's me. I'm patient zero. And they're all kind of like, okay, June, like now's not the time to like make this about you and like try to be an attention seeker. But she's like, no. When we went to Vegas, was it Vegas? Where the colonies are, I'm pretty sure it's in Vegas. Anyway, she's like, when we're in Vegas and I got help at the hospital when I had the plague, because remember when she was underground, Day had to carry her on his back and like she got really sick, and then she went to the hospital in the colonies and they fixed her up and they injected her with something random that was the mutated version of the plague. You know what I mean? And then she brought the mutated version back into the Republic. Just a whole shambles. So anyway, she's like, I'm patient zero. They do the testing on her and that's how they end up finding the cure. But anyways, side tangent. So she's like running through the streets at some point. I think she's looking for Commander Jameson and she's like trying to hunt her down and stuff. Jameson's like shooting at her and like it's just a shambles. She gets up on a rooftop. I know. I swear Marie Lu was doing this on purpose at this point, because like, what do you mean another rooftop scene? Like, come on. Really, come on, like please. They're up on a rooftop having the final showdown. They're fighting and whatnot, and like Jameson shoots Day from the rooftop while he's like trying to carry Eden to safety. I don't even remember, man. Just a shambles. But anyway, they're up on the roof. June is like trying to be all like the bigger person, like, oh my god, like if I shoot Jameson, then I'm no better than she. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Like having a full on moment, and it's like, darling, like we're in a war. I don't know what this tells you about my character, but honey, if you've just been shooting at all the people I love and we're in the middle of a war, like there's no be a bigger person, there's be the alive person, and like you're gone. It was like so ridiculous. They're hanging off the end of a building. She's like hanging on to her and she's kind of like, I think she calls for someone down below to shoot Jameson. She's like, shoot her, shoot her. And then someone does, and then she falls to her death. And then she has this full on annoying like existential crisis meant to be about, oh no, like I'm a bad person now. I'm no better than Jameson. Like, girl, shut up. Again, babes, it's a war. That woman has caused so much destruction. Like, honestly, wipe her out. Come on now. I'm just saying. Anyway, so then we look down, we meet up with Day. Day's been, the shot that Jameson fired at Day is like, he's bleeding out. June like catches up with him and she's like, oh my god, he's gonna die. And I'm sitting here being like, he's gonna die. Like, because we're at the end of the book, we had like that much left. And I make the mistake. I skip to the back of the book. Like I'm flicking through to the back of the book, just like, I'm convinced he's gonna die. And I see the word tombstone at like on one of the final pages and I'm like, oh. And I see that we have no more chapters from Day's perspective as well. So I'm like, oh my god, like, okay. So here I am having a crisis being like, okay, he dies. Like, there is no way. And like, how are you gonna kill off a main character dual perspective book? Like, who do you think you are, Allegiant? Ugh. So anyways, I was like really not having it. With what happens in the real ending, oh my god, I would have preferred he died. Like I would have actually just preferred he died. Because what do you mean? He bleeds out, ends up in a coma. June is like at his bedside weeks and weeks, right? Or months even, tending to him, visiting him. He wakes up, he has amnesia. But like, first of all, if that is not a 2010 YA dystopian plotline, like I really don't know what is, but like amnesia. Wakes up, can't remember the last 2 years or something like that, or the last 18 months. So you know what that means? He can't remember anything up until where we were at the beginning of the first book, Legend. So pretty much as if the whole trilogy just never happened, that's where Day's memory gets reset back to. But he remembers that his mum is dead. Like, okay, talk about cherry-picked amnesia. Come on. I'm so sorry, but like, how dare you? And he remembers everyone except June. Like, you know what I mean? And then the fact, you know what makes it worse? June decides to not even tell him. She's like, I'm just gonna let him live his life, forgetting who I am and who I was and everything that we've just been through. Like, what do you mean? And then they move to Antarctica. Are you kidding? Like, are you actually joking? Him and Eden moved to Antarctica. I was like, there's actually no way. Like, oh my god, I would have rather he died. Don't give me amnesia, forgets about June, moves to Antarctica, never to be seen again. Like, don't give me that. Don't go the psychological torture route. Like, how actually dare you, Marie? Thank God for the epilogue. In the epilogue, years go by and like Eden's in university or something like that, and he and Day come back to the Republic to visit, and they bump into June on the street, and Eden remembers who June is, and I think Day like does a double take or something like that. Anyways, and then they end up inviting them to a dinner or something. I can't actually remember how it all went down, but like they end up being brought to the same dinner. It's their chance to introduce themselves again and like basically rekindle what they had, and like, you know, like for real. But anyway, we ended with a bang, so thank you for that. That's pretty much everything that I have to say to you about the Champion series, okay? I've been wanting to read that series for like 10 years. It was one of the first series that I discovered when I got back into reading as a teenager, and I've waited like a decade to finally get around to it. So I'm so glad it's finally over. I'm so glad it's finally over. No, I'm so glad I finally did it, and I can't believe it's over is what I meant to say. Damn, I haven't read anything else by Marie Lu. I know she has other stuff out, but I kind of lost interest in reading it. Like, I'm not gonna read The Rose Society. I'm not gonna read Warcross. Yeah, if you've read this series, tell me what you thought. We can chat in the comments, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Here's the final look. We went low-key today. I know it's not very like fun, but I needed to do something wearable because I actually have to leave in like the next 20 minutes. I need to get dressed. Maybe for the next series we can do something fun. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Ciao.